Hello everyone, this is author, motivational speaker, and dating coach Matthew C. Horne, bringing you a video tonight titled Blocked Part 3, Re-engaging with Egypt in Dating. But before we go any further, always note that my videos in the dating space, they're inspired by my books, How to Get Beautiful Women and Everything Else You Want from Life, in addition to the new, How to Be Appealing to Successful Black Men for Black Women. They're both available at www.matthewchorne.com. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and to help me to grow the message and the movement. Once again, tonight's title. This is part 3 of the now 4-part series called Blocked. This is the third video, part 3, Re-engaging with Egypt in Dating. Now, what happens in dating is that we have our experiences, and with some people, we decide that we can continue to move forward. And with others, it runs its course, and no one has to be egregiously wrong and hold bad energy and, be to a point where things are just bad between the two of you, but you come to a mutual conclusion or even just a one-sided conclusion that it's better if you two parted ways. Now, what I've seen with this is that, especially from a man's perspective, because remember, this is a 4-part series for men, but of course it's applicable to women as well, but I'm focusing on the men on this series. What tends to happen is that if a man decides he wants to figuratively block a woman from his life, he's invested a good deal of energy into this woman, or sometimes he's just, seen enough as soon as he's met her, something, more than likely it was something like disrespectful that happened, or something that just really did not set right with him on a spiritual level. And, sometimes it's just not right. But the title, Re-engaging Egypt in Dating, I titled it that because the worst thing that we can do is to come to a place of peace that your life is better without a particular person. And a lot of times that person will go out and do the same things to different men, and some men won't tolerate it, some men will, and a lot of times the men that will tolerate the stuff that she did, to you, and she's taking the same version of herself to the next man. So the man that tolerates it, typically she doesn't have any respect for him, and then she might come across another solid man that was forced to choose himself based on whatever happened between him and the girl. Okay, so then she starts thinking back to the good men that she had in her life. And, she went out there and dated a myriad of guys. And in so many words, she remained single because the guys that she was into and the guys that she had plans to be with, they didn't want the same thing as her. That's typically how people remain single. Okay, so now she's coming back to you. Maybe you grew, maybe you evolved, and but yeah, this video, not to go away from the point, but this video is for the elevated man, the man who's continuously improving himself. So any woman that steps away from you, when she goes back into her archive and takes a hard look at you, she's going to see growth, elevation, and you're going to be a more attractive man by consequence of that. Okay, so then she comes back to you. She remembers how good of a presence that you were in her life, and how solid of a man that you were, and then on top of that, you've elevated and you've grown, so now you have more appeal. When this woman comes back, just let it go. And I say that because I'm not saying she's a bad woman, but typically what happens is that whatever caused you to have a level of unrest internally and externally with being with this woman, whatever that was, it's going to come back. I've never, ever, quote unquote, blocked a woman, let her back in my life, and then things improve. It's never happened. And there's been many, 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 many a woman who have, attempted to re-engage things, called me, and, sometimes it was times in my life where I disrespected the game. I moved the wrong way, and I would re-engage the woman, let her back in, and it doesn't take long. She's going to do the same exact thing that she did before. But the only thing is that it's going to get worse. On an unconscious level, the woman knows that whatever she did to write her ticket to exit your space, She knows that she wouldn't have tolerated that from any man if a man had done it to her. She knows that she was out of bounds, and she's really just pushing the boundaries to see how much you respect yourself when she reaches out to you and tries to re-engage you. And so if you re-engage her on an unconscious and conscious level, she can't respect you because she knows she overstepped those bounds. A lot of times, a man, if he has a particular interest in a woman, he's not just going to snap his fingers like I'm gone. Like you had conversations with her, and she refused to adhere to what you were telling her that you needed for the relationship to continue. So she knows what you were looking for. She just refused to give it to you. And ultimately, that's when men have to choose themselves, and that's when the word blocked comes into play. So she knows what she did. And a lot of times, it takes a very humble person to take a look at themselves enough to change, to lose a good person, lose a good man, examine themselves, not blame that man, but really accept the fact that, hey, this one's on me. And then they can take ownership of that behavior and that characteristic, and they can face it, and then they can overcome it, and they can change, which means that they're going to have an adjustment to their character. Okay? That's when you go from relationship to relationship, and you're taking a more elevated version of yourself, only if you are humble enough to take a hard look at yourself. So very few people are going to do that. So when she gets back in touch with you, 9 times out of 10, 9.5, 9.8 times out of 10, you're going to get the same exact person, and you're going to get the same exact outcome by virtue of them being the same exact person. So my advice is to not re-engage Egypt. There's something new for you. There's something new. And I use the allegory Egypt because in the Bible, Moses delivered the people out of Egypt into the promised land. And you have a certain type of desire that person didn't meet. And so technically, when you moved on, you left them in Egypt. Okay. Now, the stages after Egypt is you make progress. Okay. You might not be getting the exact outcomes you want, but you're beginning to make a journey away from something that you know was not for you. Okay. And then you'll get the signs and markers. Like even in the Bible, God would drop that manna from heaven. He said, hey, you can't see the full picture, but I'm going to drop you some sustenance to let you know that I'm here and I'm in control of the situation and you're moving in the right direction. That's where the sustenance came, okay, to sustain them as they were going towards the promised land. And eventually, when they were approaching the promised land, they sent a spy, and the spy came back and said, yes, what we've been marching for all these generations, all these years, it's a real place. There's actually milk and honey in there. And so you'll have experiences when you leave Egypt in Egypt, because you can't be in two places at once. You can't be in two places at once. So when you leave Egypt in Egypt, now you're opening yourself up for the Genesis. That's the new beginning that you were looking for in that person, but they couldn't give it to you. There was a particular experience, which is a representation of a Genesis. That is your promised land. That is that new beginning where you and that person are on the same page. That's why you left that person in Egypt. So you have to stay on that course, and when they reach back out, you just have to let them know, like, hey, this isn't going to work. Like, you're not a bad person, but I've never re-engaged with someone and things have gotten better. You have to be honest. Like when women call me, that's what I tell them. And that's exactly what I tell them, is that I can't disrespect the game. I don't say it in those words, but I say, I know what's going to come from this. Even if we kick it, once or twice and things are good, that like it's coming. And I'd rather just keep moving towards what's for me. Because I don't want to rob myself of the experience of what's for me by holding on to something that clearly showed me was not for me. You can't serve two masters. You're either going to, put your energy in Egypt, or you're going to put your energy in that Genesis, that new beginning. And that new beginning is out there, but you always have to be moving towards it. And just like when they were moving towards the promised land, they got the sustenance, and then they got the signs and markers when they sent the spy, and then eventually they crossed over into that promised land. Now, there were many people on that journey. That journey took a long time. Like there's no really time parameter wrapped around your journey, but Egypt is not where you want to be. So it may take a little bit of time, but even if you look in the Bible, the people were saying, hey, we hated the conditions of Egypt, but at least we had certainty of day to day what it was going to be like. So you're going to have a temptation when Egypt tries to re-enter your life. You're going to have a temptation to go for the certainty of knowing that person, but you're robbing yourself of the fullness of the experience of the woman who can recognize you without having to mess up, without having to disrespect you. The woman who can recognize the gravity of the man that you are, so that you don't have to be dealing with someone with something in the back of your mind. Why is this person coming back? You're thinking about what they showed you before. That's no way to live. That's no way to live. The new beginning is worth at least seeing if it's out there. Because if you settle, if you go back to the confines that you left in the past, if you go back to that Egypt, the only thing waiting for you are those same shackles. And you don't want familiar shackles. You want the freedom of that new beginning. That is an exact representation of your desires, what you want. Someone who can recognize who you are the first time. Someone who doesn't have to disrespect you, go out there, test the market, get chewed up and spit out and come back, and to develop some semblance of respect for you. You're greater than that. You worked on yourself. You've elevated. You've grown. There's a new beginning out there. Someone who's going to get it right the first time. And you'll see it once you begin to get the signs and markers that you're getting closer and closer. And then when you cross over into that promised land, you're going to be like, I'm so glad I didn't settle for Egypt. I'm so glad I didn't go to the familiar confines of the shackles. So I hope this video was of some purpose and value to you tonight. Just understand that your Genesis is always greater than Egypt. And that's your choice as to which direction you want to move in. This has been Matthew C. Horne, author, motivational speaker, and dating coach, bringing you a video tonight titled, Going Back to Egypt. Yes, the confines of Egypt, the familiarity of Egypt, or your Genesis. You know, that's how we're going to end it. You know, the frustrations of going back to Egypt. That's the whole theme and title of what we'll be talking about tonight. My messages are inspired by my books, How to Get Beautiful Women and Everything Else You Want from Life, in addition to How to Be Appealing to Successful Black Men for Black Women. They're both available at www.matthewchorne.com. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're in need of coaching, if you feel as if someone like me could help you to get the outcomes in the dating space that you desire, reach out to me at matthewchorne23@gmail.com. If this video has been inspiring, if this video has been informative, if your consciousness has been expanded, and it's something that you feel like has elevated you, don't forget to, don't hesitate to donate. My donation information will be in the description. Also, this is part 3. I have part 4 coming to you very soon. This is going to be a heavy-hitting ending to the series, the 4-part series called Blocked. Blocked part 4, I'm going to go hard. I'm going to go extremely hard. You're not going to want to miss it. It's coming soon. Thank you for spending some time with me tonight. And like I said, I'll be back with you very soon. Block part 4 is coming.